Hello and welcome to my final project presentation. Among the many things I found to be interesting in this course, again, very cool to be able to take a course in education as an engineering major, was this whole concept of augmented and virtual reality, something I really had never even given much thought to, aside from the fact of entertainment, that I've seen with my friends and their Samsung devices, playing Temple Run or just simply watching some sort of video and whatnot, never really understood the impact that, this whole new modality could have on life. So, what is augmented and virtual reality? Virtual reality is an artificial, computer-generated simulation or recreation of a real-life environment or situation. It immerses the user by making them feel like they're experiencing the simulated reality firsthand, primarily by stimulating their vision and hearing. Again, using this head-mounted display device like you see in the top right corner there. Where augmented reality is a technology that layers computer-generated enhancements atop an existing reality in order to make it more meaningful through the ability to interact with it. Augmented reality is developed into apps and used on mobile devices to blend digital components into the real world in such a way that they enhance one another, but can also be told apart easily. So simply put, augmented reality could just be a 3D movie you see when you go and put those glasses on. Again, it appears to be a little more augmented than it would if, say, you did not have those 3D glasses on. So augmented reality and virtual reality are inverse reflections of one another with what each technology seeks to accomplish and deliver for the user. Virtual reality offers a digital recreation of a real-life setting, while augmented reality delivers virtual elements as an overlay to the real world, where I think this graphic in the lower right-hand corner kind of does a great job of demonstrating that. So basically these headsets kind of cut off that outside stimuli and, include whatever, digitalization they want to put into it. And what's really neat is, you can look around in these devices and it's all where you're seeing all around you rather than just one dimension, if you will. So moving forward, this device and this technology has got an extreme relevance and impact. In fact, Goldman Sachs estimated that the AR/VR market will reach $80 billion by 2025, which makes sense considering, heavy hitters such as Facebook, Sony, Microsoft, Google, Samsung, to name a few, are all getting into this space. It's got an endless impact possibilities in education. When you think about being able to take interesting perspectives into the human body, like you'll see in a video here following this presentation of anatomy and whatnot. Video games, the entertainment industry, we see that already, with the Cirque du Soleil stuff and whatnot. Engineering, be able to visualize different designs and whatnot from a 3D perspective without even prototyping. It gets rid of prototyping. Theme parks, go ride a roller coaster while sitting on your couch. Moving forward, again, kind of taking a focus on education here, U.S. News back in October here reported the tech-focused tools such as a VR allow teachers to tailor the curriculum to meet the specific needs of each student. Most unique are the school's plans to harness the power of a virtual reality to engage students. One article, a guy named Seth Andrew from the Washington Leadership Academy was quoted saying that the potential of virtual reality tools to improve education is extremely thrilling. He went on to talk about the evolution of a student reading about France in a textbook to watching a YouTube video about France, right, where we kind of are today, if you will, to virtual reality, where you're able to just walk around the streets of Paris. Talk about engaging and really emerging, students into whatever the topic might be. In a recent ITSE 2016 conference in Denver, 86% of teachers said it was a challenge to keep students interested in a subject, and virtual reality could solve that problem. So again, this just kind of gives you perspective, and also, firsthand visualization, to be able to kind of see and not necessarily feel and touch it, right, but be able to see it from just a different perspective than in a textbook or in a video. Again, a two-dimensional representation of these three-dimensional, objects, if you will. Again, like that molecule in the top right-hand corner, or how about that protein in the bottom left-hand corner? Again, also the possibility of remote learning, for someone to be able to put on a VR while they're sitting at home, or for someone to be able to put on a VR while they're in a, very rural area and kind of check into class, if you will. Again, this kind of takes Google Classroom almost to another level where, you're actually in attendance than just attending online. So again, it's just very interactive. It's a very interesting thing to think about. So, as far as how's this handled in the policy of the VR and whatnot, that's something that's going to become a huge issue here. Actually, the U.S. Department of Education recently launched what's known as the Ed Sim Challenge, which is a $680,000 competition to design the next generation of educational simulations that strengthen career and technical skills. The challenge calls upon the virtual reality, video game developer, and educational technology communities to submit concepts for immersive simulations that will prepare students for the globally competitive workforce of the 21st century. Moving on, a nationwide survey of 1,000 K-12 teachers said that 60% of people were keen to make virtual reality part of the overall educational experience, even though only 2% of teachers had already used VR. So again, I think people actually realize the capability and the impact that the VR can have without even having to, without having actually used it, which is quite interesting. In fact, one neat perspective on access, again, not just access for the student, but access to material and different perspectives, if you will. We can call it this with Google Expeditions. It's an app that offers 360-degree virtual field trips to zoos, museums, or even places that would be impossible to visit, like ancient Greece or Mars. So again, the opportunity for students to go and travel without actually traveling and seeing things without actually going there, again, takes that textbook idea to a whole new level here. And one other thing here, in an EDUCAUSE review from November 14th of this year, stated that due to equipment costs and limited access to relevant programs, virtual reality is in the commercial sense remains in its infancy. I'm sorry about that. So from a monetary perspective, the value of VR, as it's commonly called, is astronomical, considering that a single $2 billion acquisition in 2014 occurred. So, it just goes to show we're kind of at the beginning of a lot of this, but again, how quick is it going to move? If you think about how fast smartphones have become relevant and whatnot, again, I think we can only expect similar trends here in the VR. So again, it's kind of more important to consider, not only access, but, how are people going to be able to get onto their hands on one of these, if they're so expensive? But what's nice, again, is this whole idea of being able to develop these different programs and curriculums specific to students, right? And, kind of self-pace, if you will, where the material's kind of there and you have the chance to more or less kind of work with it as you go, rather than have stuff just thrown at you. If you need to take that one extra second to, say, look at a skeleton and whatnot and take a different angle than what was originally maybe given to you, you have that ability with VR. So moving forward, this is extremely relevant to the the ISTE standards that we've talked about in class for both students and teachers. When you look at empowering learners, specifically using technology to seek feedback, that's something that can be done with the VR. Understanding the fundamental concepts of technology operations. Couldn't think of a better way to do it than be able to see it firsthand. Moving on, digital citizen. You're going to have to absolutely be digitally competent to be able to really truly instill these into education, if you will. So we need to make sure that our students know how to use these devices and they understand technology. So basically it's very interesting to think about the possibility of what VR can do within education. A computational thinker, to be able to kind of understand all these different perspectives or component parts and whatnot, or the little things, just by being able to kind of maybe virtually through a VR kind of take things out one by one, see how things come together, whether it be analytics or something actually tangible. And for teachers as well, this is going to allow them to be able to not only obviously facilitate, again, through providing access remotely, but again, inspire students. This is kind of an interesting new, very cool topic, if you will, again, not only for those teachers, but again, for a student like myself. I think this is a great way to engage students. Again, moving on, kind of another chance to obviously allow students to kind of collaborate with one another, through these digital classrooms, if you will, or virtual classrooms, again, where, you can kind of talk about what are you unsure about, or point out interesting, you know, parts that maybe you would want one of your peers to see. Again, these videos attached, specifically the one that talks about Microsoft HoloLens and its relevance to Case Western Reserve University and their health education program, I think is a very good way to kind of get an understanding of what exactly I'm talking about as far as these capabilities go. Lastly, the role of the teacher. Again, it's important for them to meet these student needs, and by using a VR, they're able to do that by kind of moving at their own pace. So again, it's more or less just kind of finding the appropriate application. Again, I think a VR could be used in many different realms or domains of education, if you will, but specifically, in the sciences, or how about the arts, to be able to see, an ancient sculpture three-dimensionally in front of you and really kind of connect with it, if you will. To be able to assess also is very critical. If you can see in the bottom right-hand corner, you can kind of see looking at your students without actually waiting to grade their papers, who actually understands and who doesn't at the point of assessment. That way you can kind of address any sort of concerns right away, then kind of wait until it's maybe too late and irrelevant, or kind of beyond what that student's thinking about anymore. And again, for the students, they've got to be accountable. They've got to be responsible, not get distracted with these technology devices like you would see maybe with a cell phone. And again, I talked about it earlier, competency. We need to understand that, a technology barrier may exist where students may actually not even understand how to use the device. So therefore, there's a learning curve. They got to actually learn how to use the device before it can become, an effective modality. So again, and also that cost issue from before, it's important to think about, access. So again, we just need to assure that, we kind of follow this through, and it's exciting to see where it may end